that's got his own.
And be sure to stick around for our feature later in the program, where we had the pleasure of interviewing the production's director, Ren T. Brown, and former state senator Nate Holden himself. Celebrating African American heritage is far from over in Los Angeles. In Freedom Hall at Forest Lawn, Afrocentric art and culture were the touchstones for a night of unity and community.
What we are doing this evening is coming out to celebrate Black History Month.
And we're going to have an amazing show tonight. We're going to have musicians, singers, we're going to have speakers, comedians, dancers, and this is one of the most beautiful events that Fort Lawn prepares for the community.
Right here for this particular event, we brought out some art to be sure that we understand what is happening in our history. This particular piece that is here really gives an understanding of some very powerful men, Black men that have been very inspirational to our entire world. Only the African American culture comes to see an African American event, then we're not spreading the culture and the event and the information.
I think we need to open up and cross the cultures and break the boundaries and break these divisions. It just makes this world better and more entertaining. Just like tonight, we get to see all these wonderful people perform, and everybody who's out there sharing their talents with us, no matter what their background is so special to all of us, and we need more of that.
This is important, and it represents a great history, and knowing that we can come together for something that's heartfelt and something that makes us remember that, you know, the past is not so long ago. But it's good to have a lot of performers come together that can communicate and share and just basically be an entertainment for us to be able to come together, you know, and have a great atmosphere of peace and harmony.
Most people agree that great music transcends race and age and time, but the drum has a special place in African culture. As Rasha Goel reports, there's more than one way to beat a drum.
Lorraine Moreland, a drummer and spoken word artist, shares with us the historic relevance of drums throughout African American history. She shares how it's been used as a communication tool.
Basically, back in time, there was a lot of wood. So you could use that. You could use the wood. You could make that beat. And then somebody else would make it. And then it goes down, and they could hear it from way yonder. And then it would go, and they would communicate. And that's the way it was.
The slaves used drums as a communication tool during slavery in America. But taking that tool and applying it to today's times, we can use drums to alert people to emergencies that are taking place.
And now there's an idea of how we could use the drum as a tool in present times.
More and more and more.
Within our Readier LA neighborhood program, we encourage people to come together within their neighborhoods and utilize their resources in terms of preparing for emergencies like earthquakes, fires, and other disasters.
So how can drumming help you? Well, officials tell me that your neighbors are your first source of help during an emergency before you wait for the firemen or police department to get down there. So what you can do is get together with your neighbors, figure out a sound that works for you, and during an emergency, use that sound as a way to communicate to each other.
While the emergency is going on, someone can just be off to the side beating this drum while people are packing up and getting out. People are telling other people that there's an emergency, telling others that they need to evacuate the area. So a drum can just be the pulse to the emergency that's at hand.
We always have the alarm going off for a fire or something. But can you imagine, you hear that, it gets right there, and people will know that we have a serious problem going on right now. You know, just by hearing that, you know.
Ready Your LA Neighborhood is a program by the city's emergency management department that helps neighborhoods prepare for emergencies. In addition, the city also has Notify LA, an emergency alert system you can sign up for.
We send messages through cell phone, email, and your landline, and we will let you know when an emergency happens and what you need to do in terms of the response.
And while those technological tools are being used in our modern world, we can still find a way to be connected through this historic instrument.
I was ready to dance.
We can always count on the library to bring us stories we never knew we would cherish, to provide the tools and knowledge we need to move us forward, and to provide the sacred ground where we can be and express who we are.
You're very clear about being Black, about being bi, about being Muslim, about being all of your various different identities all together.
Yeah, it's great because it can be really exhausting to perform one version of yourself.
This community is extremely diverse. It's about 55% Latino and 45% Black. And one of my primary jobs is to bring programming to this community that reflect the community.
Being Black and being queer are not things that are separate from each other, not something that have just converged in recent times, not a trend. It's something that is inherent to both Blackness and queer identity.
To be Black is to be queer, is to be trans, is to be all of this all at once. And it does not in any way kind of undo or detract from your Blackness to allow queer and trans people to also, you know, embrace their Blackness as well. You mentioned folks from the Harlem Renaissance earlier. Like, I remember learning about them. I remember reading their poems and their plays, but no one ever told me that they were queer, or bi, or gay, or whatever the case may be.
It's like, is it activism or is it just telling the historical record as it was? And so like that's a question I'm constantly thinking about. The Harlem Renaissance was a time of cultural explosion in the United States. It was this convergence of people, Black people from a bunch of different areas, from the South, from the Caribbean, from Central and South America, coming together and forming a new and unique identity. As they were doing that, they were also questioning what it meant to be a man or a woman, and also the gray area in between, or the vibrancy in between, and that laid the groundwork for the work that's being done today.
I think one thing that's very important for us today is to make sure that we create the world that we want instead of just complaining about it.
Well, today we are very honored to have two extremely influential individuals in the history of our city, former state senator and city council member Nate Holden, and Ren T. Brown, an award-winning performer of stage and screen. Thank you both for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here. It's my pleasure.
Yes, now we want to talk about all the amazing and exciting performances and things that are happening at the Performing Arts Center.
Presently, we have 1 week left. We're presenting a play called Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill about one of the last performances in the life of the great Billie Holiday. So following that, we're going to have the two-time Tony nominee, Vivian Reed, doing a tribute to Lena Horne. Then the wonderful, wonderful dance company, the Garth Fagan Dance Company, he gave the world The Lion King. I mean, literally gave the world The Lion King. And then a Philip Hayes Dean play in May called The Sty of the Blind Pig.
Let's talk about the importance of having theater in communities of color.
It reminded me when I was a kid, if I went to the movie and I didn't see any people of color in the movie, sometimes the butler, the chauffeur, the maid, it's said to the community and to the general public, that's what you do. You're the butler and you're the maid and you're the chauffeur and that's it. Often the narrative is written by the dominant culture, and the narrative is often poorly written about communities of color. And so when you can see yourself as whole, when you can walk into a theater and you can see a play where your mother or your grandmother or one of your siblings is represented, there is a kinship immediately. There is an understanding immediately, and it's vitally important because when you're able to see yourself as whole, then you're able to exit that theater chamber and to treat someone with another kind of intentional civility. You feel better about being a human being.
Would you like to add to that?
It generates pride. That's very important.
That's right.
Where do we find more information?
www.ebonyrep.org, 323-964-9768.
Join thousands who are running from Dodger Stadium to the sea. Watch Outfest Fusion burst with diversity. Or join Councilmember Buscaino for a day of planting trees. All this in Things to Do.
It's the largest marathon held in California, the 4th largest in the country, and the 7th largest in the world. The 2020 LA Marathon offers a run that passes every major landmark from Dodger Stadium to the Santa Monica Pier. Entertainment centers located throughout the course will reflect the ethnic and cultural diversity of the city. The 2020 LA Marathon happens Sunday, March 8th. For details, visit lamarathon.com. Don't miss Outfest Fusion, a festival of international film, music, and storytelling focused on people of color. Discover breakthrough works from today's most exciting underground artists, musicians, and creators. Outfest Fusion begins Wednesday, March 6th. For more information, visit outfest.org/fusion 2020. Celebrate and plant trees this Arbor Day. Join Councilmember Joe Buscaino, CAL FIRE, LADWP, and Cleaner Greener East LA for a day of climate and community action. The goal is to plant 300 new trees in Wilmington, surrounding the Banning Museum and Recreation Center. Following the volunteer tree planting, City Plants and partners will host an environmental community fair with food, music, hands-on exhibits, and more. 2020 Arbor Day celebration happens Saturday, March 7th. For more information on this free event, visit their listing on Eventbrite. And that's a look at some things to do.
That's it for this edition. I'm Saida Pagan. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.
Good morning, and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. Today is Friday, March 6th, and this council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Harris Dawson, Huizar, Koretz, Krikorian, Lee, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue, Wesson. 11 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Rue moves and Mr. Lee seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Weston moves and Mr. Price seconds. Next.
Madam President, there has been a request to refer item 3 back to the Public Works and Gang Reduction Committee. Furthermore,
without objection, that will be the
Thank
order.
you.
Next.
Further, given the upcoming council recess, would council like all items to go forthwith today?
Without objection, that would be the order as well.
Item 1 is an item notice for public hearing.
Okay, anyone want to call this special or any cards on this item?
Yes, we have cards on this item.
Okay, let's go ahead and hold that on the desk. Next.
For item 2, a communication from the chair of the Personnel and Animal Welfare Committee has been posted and circulated for council's consideration. Inasmuch as a public hearing was not satisfied in committee, speaker cards must be taken for this matter. Would you like to hold it on the desk?
Yeah, let's go ahead and hold that. Next.
Items 4 through 19 are items for which public hearings have been held. Committee reports for items 11, 16, 17, and 18 have been posted and circulated for council's consideration. There has also been a request to continue item 14 to Tuesday, March 17th.
Okay, so we're going to continue item 14. There's also been a request to hold on item 3. Is that correct?
Apologies, Madam President. We referred that item back to Public Works Committee.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and continue 14. Members, are there any specials on any of these items? Okay, let's go ahead and vote on the remaining balance. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, what's next?
Item 20 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, that item is now before us. Are there cards on this item?
Yes, we have cards on item 20.
Okay, go ahead and hold that item. What's next?
On the continuation agenda, item 21 is an item for which public hearing has been held. The city attorney advises reopening the public hearing for this matter. Would you like to hold it on the desk?
Yes, let's hold that item on the desk.
Great. That takes council back to presentations, items called special, or public comment on items not on council's agenda.
Okay, Mr. O'Farrell?
Thank you, Madam President. Items 16, 17, and 18 forthwith, please.
All items are going forthwith because we were going to be on recess next week.
Thank you.
Any other requests? No, Mr. Rue, are you ready for Ms. Rodriguez? Hold on.
Sorry, Madam President, can we please reconsider item number 5, please?
Reconsider item number 3 or 5?
5.
5. Let's go ahead and open that up for reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
No, reconsideration. Yeah.
We just reconsidered it. Do you want to speak on it?
No, we considered it.
Now it's up.
Okay.
Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. Mr. Rue, are you ready for your presentation, sir?
Come on. Stand around here. Councilman Koretz. Thank you, Madam President, and good morning, colleagues. Today I am joined by our colleague, Councilmember Paul Koretz, and I know the city attorney, Mike Fuhr, wanted to be here, so he's trying to rush down as soon as possible, and he might be able to join us in the tail end at the very least, to celebrate a bastion of local journalism, the Beverly Press Park La Brea News. The Park La Brea News has been in print for 73 years, reporting on the issues of Greater Wilshire, Beverly Hills, and beyond, and providing critical insight on the local issues that readers and our voters and residents care about. Local journalism is a vital force in our civic and social life. Local papers bind communities together over shared triumphs and tragedies. Local papers empower residents to get involved and invest in where they live. And local papers play a crucial role in the sharing the facts, providing sober analysis, and yes, holding our local public servants accountable. As we've seen papers big and small close shop in recent years, I feel so lucky to open my copy of the Beverly Press every week because there is no substitute for local journalism. And when communities lose their local paper, they lose their voice, their advocate, and their collective memory. Local journalism is a staple of our democracy, and it should be protected at all costs. And no one knows this better than Karen and Michael Villalpando, and their two daughters joining them today. The Villalpandos bought the Park La Brea News in 1990 and merged it with the Beverly Press to form the Park La Brea Beverly Press, covering Greater Wilshire, the Miracle Mile, West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Melrose, Fairfax, and more. Since then, Karen and Michael has increased production in turning the paper into a weekly. They have provided coverage on the LA riots, the Northridge earthquake, and the incredible growth in the Miracle Mile. So today, we are celebrating 30 years of incredible journalism at the Beverly Press Park La Brea News. If we could give them all a round of applause again. It is very hard to imagine Greater Wilshire without the Beverly Press. Just like the original Farmers Market, LACMA, or the Pan Pacific Park, the Beverly Press Park La Brea News is our mainstay in our community and in our city, feeding the minds and enriching the lives of all Angelenos. And now, since their coverage is so broad, we have other members here, including our city attorney who just joined us, who know and love the Beverly Press. So I want to invite up Councilmember Paul Koretz, my neighbor and colleague, to say a few words.
Well, thank you, Mr. Rue, for bringing this forward. I've been fortunate enough to be covered and work with the Beverly Press through my 30 years in elective office and their 30 years of publication, so it coincides perfectly. I'm glad they created it just so they could cover me that whole time, so thank you. The Beverly Press is a very feisty, scrappy local paper that often scoops and bests much larger city papers. The investigative news team, led by editor Ed Folvin, harkens back to a time when the micro newspaper was the paper of record, with a keen eye to balanced investigation with a very high standard of journalistic ethics. And whether they're covering homelessness or a building permit or the opening of a new business, I'm never surprised to find your professional staff on it early and often, and asking the hard questions and being knowledgeable on both sides of every issue. I believe the Beverly Press actually provides the best local coverage in the city of Los Angeles. In today's world, when the press is under scrutiny and under siege and print publications are going under right and left, I think the Beverly Press is a model for any paper of any size. The reporters work hard, their reporting is fair, and it is objective, and they have their thumb on the pulse of the issues that our community cares about. So I congratulate them on their first 30 years, and I look forward to the next 30. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Koretz. Next, our city attorney, Mike Fuhr, who would like to say a few words as well.
Thank you, David. Madam President, members, I have the privilege of living in the neighborhood that is covered by the press, and as a consequence, I read it every week, and my neighbors do too. And the thing about it is, this newspaper captures what's happening both on the streets of our neighborhood and in the broader city. It informs residents about stories that no one else is telling. And I know from talking with neighbors that this newspaper is a newspaper that creates conversations in our neighborhood. It stimulates discussion, and it's a catalyst for action. When the Park La Brea News-Beverly Press covers a story, it leads officials, nonprofit leaders, the business community, educators, and others to stand up, take notice, and take action. There's a thing about your paper. It captures the texture of what's happening on the street, the fabric of a neighborhood that's so hard for other newspapers to really have a feeling for because of the breadth and scope of their coverage. We are so grateful in our community to have Michael and Karen leading this newspaper, which sets an example for local newspapers, not just here in Los Angeles, but across the country, for what it means to cover the stories that everyone will be talking about the next day. And I also want to say, as someone who is occasionally covered by the paper, I appreciate the fact that you're on it. You are often the first reporters on a story. You're often the people who are telling a story that, as I said, few others are telling. And what that does is it makes sure that our community is among the best informed communities in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. And of course, finally, I'm so glad to have the publishers of the Beverly Press, Karen and Michael Villalpando, to say a few words. Karen, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I want to tell you the story of how we became the publishers of Park La Brea News and Beverly Press. In 1990, we had been married about a year and a half. We heard that the Park La Brea News was for sale. So we took a second mortgage on our little house and bought the paper. At the time, we had to keep our jobs to make ends meet, our other jobs. We hired a young journalism graduate, Brian Boyer, as our first editor, and the three of us grew up learning the news business. After publishing nights in the old days where you literally cut and pasted and put it through a waxer, our offices were in the old dell of the farmer's market. We would sit out on the roof afterwards and drink beer and be proud of our accomplishment. The newspaper went from twice a month, 3,400 circulation, to a weekly. We created the Beverly Press a few months later to better represent the neighborhood. We grew and expanded, and suddenly we had a voice. We had become a real newspaper. Brian went on to a big career. He became the fashion director of Men's Health magazine. Several of our alumni writers went on to the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and Bloomberg News. Now, we are delivered to more than 13,000 homes every week with the Los Angeles Times. We cover the Miracle Mile, Hancock Park, the Fairfax District, West Hollywood, and Beverly Hills. But the best part of what we've done over the last 30 years as publishers is to continue to provide pertinent news and to be relevant. We cover stories that matter, stories you won't read anywhere else, and issues that our readers care about. We've strived to do that for the past 30 years, and we've had success and a little fun along the way. And we will continue to do that for the next 30 years. Thank you for recognizing us, and thank you for recognizing your trusted local newspaper, publishing since 1946. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you, folks, for all being here. We're very grateful for the recognition. So I want to tell a little story. When I was a kid, my father used to quote Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Einstein, and so at a young age, I became interested in quotations, familiar quotations. So I became familiar with Bartlett's Familiar Quotations. And that became like my go-to book for entertainment and just to learn a few things. And so one of the things that we recently introduced into the newspaper is a section or a feature called Notable Quotes. And one of the very first quote that we used was actually one from a movie, Citizen Kane. And that quote was, Orson Welles as Citizen Kane saying, "I think it would be fun to run a newspaper." And it is. It has been for the last 30 years. And so we're so proud to have been able to have brought you solid news for the last 30 years. We will continue doing it for the next. And so with that, I just want to say thank you to all of our staff, my wife, my children, all the folks here for the recognition. And we promise to continue to do the hard work and keep your eyes open for breaking news every day. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And you know, Madam President, I jumped the gun. There are probably members who want to speak.
There
is
Mr. O'Farrell would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, my good colleagues, for bringing the Villalpando family into City Hall and their incredible reporting team. It's great to honor you and your 30th year anniversary, and really it highlights the importance of standing up and supporting the freedom of the press. And what I remark about the Park La Brea News and Beverly Press all the time is that you cover the real stories. Other publications just miss them all the time. I could give you numerous examples and a few publications that engage in missing the real story on a regular basis, but you all never do. And so we appreciate that, and my constituents appreciate it as well. I hear from people all the time when I'm out in the world about, oh, I read this article in the Beverly Press. I had no idea. So I just want you to understand what a great service you're offering and how wonderful it is to have a member of the city family be a member of the media family as well. And also to acknowledge your acumen for running a business that is not easy with paper costs and printing costs, and you have run a successful business for 30 years, and you've grown that business at a time when other publications were shrinking or even disappearing. So my hat's off to you. You're the example that other publications can look to. Obviously, you're doing many, many things right, and we really appreciate the service that you offer the public in covering the real stories that happen in Los Angeles, in this great city. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Mitch and council members, that reminds me of one other quote I wanted to mention. And it's from Mark Twain. And people talk about the newspaper industry shrinking and newspapers going away. But I'll paraphrase Mark Twain and say, "The reports of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. We're strong, we're going to continue, and we are doing very well. Keep looking for that newspaper." Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And you know, I want to echo Councilmember O'Farrell's thoughts. Yes, you know, you cover all the local stories, the little, from the tree planting to the sidewalk repairs, the things that some of the larger papers won't cover, because obviously it's too, they might see it as a smaller issue, but those are the issues that affect all of our residents day to day. If you're on a walker cane, if you have disability issues, that sidewalk being fixed means a matter of life or death. So thank you for covering all of the issues that matter for our local communities. And with that said, and without further ado, along with City Attorney Mike Fear and Councilmember Paul Koretz, I'd like to present this certificate celebrating 30 years of the Beverly Press.
Madam Clerk, there's been a request to reconsider item 19. Let's go ahead and open that for reconsideration. Open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote, and we're going to hold that item on the desk.
12 ayes.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to item number 1. There's several cards on this item. Armando Herman, followed by Eric Previn, Mike Greenspan, are you here? Rob Quad, Ms. Gorsuch, are you here? Ms. Gorsuch. Rob, you want to come on up, speaking on item number 1?
I just want to say how inappropriate it is for David Rue to be honoring a newspaper that put out 7 different articles over the last 3 months, puffing up each and every endorsement he's had. I think it's ridiculous that on Wednesday, this council had 3 hours of hearing. They went abruptly into a closed session, gave no announcement.
Mr. Kwan, I think those comments are more appropriate for general public comment. We're on item 1.
Yeah, I'm just wasting your time like you wasted everybody's time the other day. There was somebody who came up from San Diego to do business here, and they spent their whole day, wasted it.
Thank you. Next speaker, Ms. Gorsuch. Ms. Gorsuch, are you here? Mr. Previn, item number 1.
Thank you, and obviously congratulations to the Beverly Press for sucking directly up to City Hall. And it is appalling that 7 articles about Rue's minor endorsements. Let's remember he is probably heading for a runoff, and we certainly encourage
Madam President, the speaker is not on item 1.
Mr. Previn, get on topic, please.
Well, okay, number 1 is obviously Marquise Harris Dawson, who ran unopposed despite over a half dozen people who spent money and tried to get on the ballot. Here
Get
today,
back on the topic.
No, here today he's dedicating a city-owned real property, which is exactly how that works. And it's on Athens Way, and we appreciate. There's also a vacation of city property. Now, you didn't call up. Are you just isolating item number 1 because there's another item you have on your agenda about a vacation of property? Am I allowed to speak on that, Council President Martinez? I don't want to alarm you by asking a reasonable question. No? Okay, well then let's just go back to David Rue's unbelievably shameless. In fact, you know, in a time when journalism is suffering so much,
Thank you,
and
Mr.
Beryl
Previn.
Steinberg.
Thank you. That concludes. Mr. Previn, you're done. Please take a seat. Sergeant, can you show Mr. Previn to his seat? If not, I'm going to have him removed. You can't hear me? I asked you to sit down. That concludes speakers on this item, Madam Clerk. Let's go ahead and vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Good morning, Mr. President, colleagues. Are we all gathered here? Okay, good morning. I'm really proud to stand here with the Hope Women to celebrate their 29th annual Latina History Day here in the city of Los Angeles, which will take place next Friday, March 15th. Can we please give them a big round of applause? For the first time in history, there are more Latinos holding significant roles that help our city operate every single day. We're seeing a number of women and Latina general managers, commissioners, and hopefully more Latinas on the city council in the near future. When Latinas take leadership roles, we bring something very special to the table. We're not afraid to tackle the most difficult issues, and we're not afraid to work hard, and we're not afraid to shy away from any challenge. You can ask Ms. Rodriguez, and she can attest to that. Hope is committed to elevating the perspective of Latinas on crucial issues that impact our community and shape our collective future. 2020 is filled with opportunity, and I'm so proud to stand with Hope in their efforts to empower our collective vote. This year's Latina History theme is all about inspiring others, and their theme is Resolve, Resilient, and Recharge. 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, guaranteeing and protecting the women's constitutional right to vote. This year we have an election and the census. It is critical, it is absolutely critical for women to step up and make sure that we don't stand on the sidelines and allow others to make decisions for us. We must rise to the occasions like we did 100 years ago to make history once again at the polls. We must vote and we must participate in this year's census, and that goes to also ensure that we remind others to do the same. So thank you very much, Hope, for rising to the occasion. Congratulations on another successful Latina Heritage Day, and I want to recognize this year's chair, Rosie Arroyo, to say a few words. Give her a big round of applause.
Thank you, Council President Nury Martinez. As the first Latina Council President, it fills our heart with joy to see history being made through your leadership before this very body. On behalf of the Hope Board and staff, I want to thank you and this distinguished council for your dedication and leadership to uplift the contributions of Latinas. There is no doubt that we are living in difficult times and that our community is going through significant challenges. But despite the progress that we have made, our communities and the challenges they face, we know that Latinas have a critical role to play. Latinas make up nearly half of all women in the city of Los Angeles, and they have an important voice and role to play to advance policies that are rooted on equity, opportunity, and access. As a proud alumni of the Hope Leadership Institute, and now as board chair, I have witnessed firsthand the impact of Hope's programming on Latinas throughout the state and across the country. And now, most importantly, through our binational fellowship, which is preparing Latina executives to become leaders at the national and international level. Since its founding in 1989, Hope has served 60,000 Latinas across California through leadership, advocacy, and education. To date, over 1,000 Latinas have graduated from Hope's leadership programs, and over 450 have served on boards and commissions. There's a saying that says, as Latinas go, so does the state and so does our nation. So it's an important reminder that investing in Latinas is investing in our future. On behalf of Hope, thank you for celebrating 31 years of Latina empowerment.
Good morning, council members. My name is Laura Arciniega. Thank you very much for inviting us here today. I'm honored to address you as the chair of Hope's 29th Annual Latina History Day Conference. For the last 31 years, Hope has been celebrating and lifting up the contributions of Latinas. There is no better example than our very own Council President, Nury Martinez, a Hope Leadership Institute alumna from the class of 2000, whom we deeply respect and applaud for her leadership, dedication to the community, and consistent service as a role model to countless Latinas. Thank you to Council President Martinez and the entire council for honoring Hope with this Latina History Day proclamation during Women's History Month, which memorializes the significant role Latinas play in American society. Latina History Day is an opportunity to recognize and elevate contemporary Latinas who are building the foundation for future generations. At this year's conference, our keynote speakers include Vice President of Multicultural Audience Engagement from Walt Disney Studios, Julianne Cromit, poet Denise Froman, and author and MSNBC anchor Alicia Menendez. Latina History Day is next Friday, March 13th, when we will bring together 800 participants for a day of education, empowerment, and inspiration as we celebrate Latinas' important contributions to the city of Los Angeles, the state, and our nation. We very much appreciate your support and look forward to continuing to work together.
And on behalf of the Los Angeles City Council, I want to recognize Hope on their 29th Latina History Day, which will take place next Friday, March 13th. Thank you very much, members.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez, for bringing hope here to the City Council. So now we're going to go back into multiple public item comment. And we're going to have Mike Greenspan. You want to come on up, Mike? Is Mike Greenspan here? I saw him in the room. Okay. And you signed up for item 20, item 2, item 21, and general public comments. So I'll give you 3 minutes for your items and a minute for general public comments. So 3 minutes for your items first.
Now, which one you said, 20?
20, 21, and 2.
20, 21, and 2. Good enough. Item 2. Or do you mean 1? Okay. Mike Greenspan? Anyone but Wesson? Holly. Okay. Now, on my agenda, it talks about item number 1, category of exemption, communication from the city engineer and ordinance, first consideration.
Mr. Greenspan, item number 1 has already been voted on.
Okay. Then communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Ms. Christine Diaz Herrera to the Employee Relations Board. I got no problem with that. After all, if Wendy Gruhl had gotten the prize, she would be appointing some union goons from the DWP. This is the mayor's privilege. Hopefully he makes a good appointment. Hopefully it's, as John Walsh once talked about, somebody had kiddie porn. I hope we don't have any more of those kind of appointees. I hope they don't cost us $75,000 like Englander's office did to settle sexual harassment claims. After all, hopefully we're appointing some good people. But you never know with the city. Good enough for government work. Now, 20. Well, we're talking about money, I think, aren't we? Vacating, yes, at 113th and Broadway in Council District 8. I hope Mr. Harris Dawson got a good piece of change for it all. After all, we do buy our land at below market value just by the politicians that are in the district, and they'll get some extra square feet to make your property more valuable for development, things like that. 22, I didn't see 22 on my paper. Could you give me a
21.
21. Okay, then let me look at 21. Is that an added item? I don't have it on your agenda. That's why I asked.
It's a continuation agenda. Do you now want to speak on it? You signed up for it.
Okay, what's the topic?
You need to know the topic, Mike.
Okay, all right.
You want to just go to your general public comment?
Yeah,
Let's go to your general
David
public
Killers,
comment.
I'll take my general public comment.
Can you give a minute?
Especially today, since we have a guest appearance from Herb Wesson. That's not always the case. He's out campaigning, and he got himself a third of the vote, but you had to have 50% plus one. We're not like one of those New York primaries. You get 40% and they declare you the winner. And, of course, I hope you lose. Holly. Anyone but Wesson. After all, I remember David Rue's Dog and Pony Show. Don't vape, kids, don't vape. And then Herb Wesson gets himself a $15,000 contribution from Juul, thanks to this broad named Vanessa who used to work for him, now works for Juul. So I find it hypocritical that we have adults getting money from vaping companies, but we're telling the children and lecturing them, don't vape, don't vape, don't vape. Well, let's see. Dog, pony. That's the best way to describe these hearings that are a farce, and we blame the kids when it's the vaping companies that are giving the money to the adults. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, could I have Mr. Kavanaugh? Mr. Kavanaugh? Did we get the name right? Mr. Kavanaugh, last call. Okay, then next we'll go to Eric Previn and Rob Kwan. So, Mr. Previn, you have you signed up for item 20 and general public comments. I'll give you a minute for the item and a minute for general public comment. Item 20.
I also signed up on number 2, which you had offered to Mr. That's why I signed up, because you
Sure.
offered.
If you signed up for 2, it didn't come out on the
Yeah, I just
on
did.
the
If you
computer,
look
but
on the
I'll give you
computer.
2 minutes. Can we give him 2 minutes for the 2 items?
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, item number 2 is the appointment of Christine Diaz Herrera to the Employee Relations Board. And I just want to make sure that she is up to speed on the JEDI zones, which is going to be a workforce development plan that Krikorian was amending with a greatly sharpened pencil up in Budget and Finance a couple weeks ago, that nobody knows what's going on. It's a program to advance via consultants people's compliance with certain rules that allow them to access workforce development. It obviously is a self-deal of some kind that everybody is delighted about. I've been working on it for a very long time. The food zones, these are opportunities to create inside programs for city operators to benefit, but nobody really benefits except for because the money gets paid right out to the little suits that come in and arrange things and basically advance people through the process of dealing with this very cumbersome city process. Now, in terms of item number 20, thank you, sir, for bringing that up. 21. Is it 20 or 21? 20 and 21. 20
No,
is the
you're signed up for
vacation.
20.
Yeah. 20 is the vacation of city property. Here, you have Weezar is a great thought leader in this space. He and his Ganef helper would go up and essentially say, hey, if you want the property, I know nobody else could use it, you're going to have to kind of cooperate. What? And the eyes went wide. The FBI showed up. And sure enough, some people were like, I'm not going to give that guy or Rochelle a donation because I'm going to get a piece of city property that I should have a right. And then in my district, Krikorian doesn't even know, allegedly, which is obviously a little cartload of something we don't want to say on television. And it's they're going to be vacating a big piece of property right on Ventura Boulevard through the corridor where the public in Studio City have virtually no clue what's going on because there's been an acquisition of the whole stretch toward Whitsett from the Sportsman's Landing where his malfeasance and others, Lisa Karajan, all these little operators have been working for a decade to basically put up a luxury retail environment in an Amazon crisis.
Thank you, Mr. Previn.
The general
you got
public
a
comment?
minute for general public comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it was not a victory for the city of LA that they got none of their Prop 68 projects approved. So I send my condolences to the many city employees who are hoping to pig out on Prop 68 money, Mr. Neil Drucker included. But I want to emphasize how pleased we are in the community that we're not going to be facing immediately a giant gymnasium on our vital and precious open green space. So now I know you're going to try to get Measure A money from the county or whatever it's called, and I know you're going to try to access the $19 million of Quimby funds that Mr. Krikorian has been stockpiling. We're not exactly sure why. Caro doesn't even know about vacation, so how are we to get a straight answer about any of that? We don't know. But I will say in conclusion, sir, how disappointed I am for the Beverly Press, because you have received 7 notices recently in 3 months, articles where your little endorsements are announced and touted in a very influential publication, totally inappropriate for you to bring them in here and honor them. And journalism is under crisis. And I know that Blumenfield knows that, which is why he's so distracted. And we want to do something other than get in operators who work well with the incumbents.
Thank you, Mr. Previn.
Real reporting on the journalism.
Your time is up, Mr. Previn. Mr. Kwan, you signed up for item 20 and general public comment. I'll give you a minute for each, a minute for item 20 and a minute for public comment.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on coming here today. I was coming on Wednesday to talk about how hundreds of thousands of Angelenos were disenfranchised in voting last week. And frankly, nobody can hear me because they're all just talking over, and the city attorney apparently doesn't have a problem with that. All right, well, on the voting issue, I want to say that this council completely, entirely dropped the ball. I remember 4 months ago was the last time you brought Dean Logan in here. The only person on this council that actually asked a good question was Councilmember Monica Rodriguez, actually asking about the QR codes, the security of that, the validity of putting that on slate mailers. In 2014, we had a municipal reform commission. What did they say? As part of their recommendations, the city should conduct outreach, robust in elections in coordination with the county. They should invest in additional resources. None of that shit happened. Where was Herb Wesson? This stuff doesn't just fall on Dean Logan. I don't like the guy, but this falls on council, it falls on the board, it falls on the mayor, it falls on the city attorney, and all of you drop the ball.
General public comment?
Yeah, I'll go on. It's clear that the direction of this council hasn't changed as we continue to just go through these same motions. It seems as though we're entirely unaffected by the fact that this council has allowed the municipal lobbying ordinance that was sent to them 2 years ago to expire. I remember last year when Bob Blumenfield, during the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, asked the Ethics Commission, why is it that I meet with people who I know are lobbyists that are not registered as lobbyists? And you know what they said? Because our municipal lobbying ordinance is out of date and we sent you something a year and a half ago. That council file expired the day before the election. It is absurd that this council continues to disenfranchise voters, disenfranchise public speakers, while you give a red carpet to lobbyists, people that fundraise and bundle for your campaigns endlessly, and none of this resonates with you because you are just totally deluded.
Thank you, Mr. Kwan. Thank you. So that satisfies and closes multiple item public comment. Then we're going to move on to vote on items 2 and 20. If we could open the roll. We'll have general public comment later. We still have some people signed up. That was for people who signed up for multiple items, so we still have you. We still have items on the desk. But we open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Great. Madam Clerk, if we could go to item 21. And then we're going to take the cards. So people who signed up for 21, I have Neil Brower and Casimo Pizulu. Guys get a minute each?
Yeah, this may be the applicant.
Oh, okay. Sorry, this is a fair hearing, so there's no time.
Remind the members that they should be in their chairs. This is a fair hearing item. And while the appellates and applicants are speaking, please pay attention to them, either by looking at your monitor or addressing the podium. As for the applicant and the appellant, you will get 5 minutes for each side. If there's more than one speaker, you can divide your 5 minutes up however you see fit, and then we'll take public comment afterward.
Is the appellant here? Should they speak first?
I'm sorry, you are the applicant? Yeah, applicant. You could go first.
Okay.
Sure. Hold on for a second, sir.
Certainly.
Oh. Hey, don't touch me. Herman, you're disrupting the meeting. Please sit. This is your first and final warning. I just been informed that he's not supposed to be in here. He's been already dismissed.
We get 5 combined. I'm going to go for 4.
Mr. Krikorian?
And just for the record, Mr. Herman is at the back of the room and he's screaming, shouting, and refuses to leave the room. And he continues to scream and shout, and he's not leaving the room. And he continues to scream and shout.
Just for the record, again, Herman was not supposed to be in this meeting. He was already excluded. So let the record reflect, he came in to disrupt the meeting. He was shouting the entire way going out. Mr. Krikorian?
Just to be clear, because he was disrupting the meeting from the moment he walked in and because he was not supposed to be here in the first place, the president also ordered him excluded just now as well for that continuing disruption. Is that
yes,
true?
Let the record reflect that to the city attorney. Thank you. So I'm sorry about that disruption. You're the applicant. Go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Goes with the territory. Thank you. Good morning, honorable council members. Neil Brower, Jeffer, Mangels, Butler, and Mitchell, representing the applicant Cosimo and Christine Pizzulli, 20-year residents of the Palisades who are seeking to build 8 homes on 8 single-family lots, of which 6 of those homes are net new. This has been a 3-year process, and it started with 2 years of consultation among council district staff, the Bureau of Engineering, and the Bureau of Sanitation, because my client wanted to do the right thing, and in addition to building houses, wanted to pay for the design and extension of a public sewer system down the street so that his neighbors would receive some benefit and connect as well. After 2 years of meetings, it became clear that the Bureau of Engineering could not approve a design that Mr. Pizzulli could find anyone to build. We literally could not find a contractor who would agree to build what BOE wanted built because they did not believe that it would work and would not put their licenses on the line for it. After that, there was an additional year of administrative process that led to, ultimately, to what before you is a categorical exemption. Now, I think there's some misperception among many of you. I mean, few people even know what a categorical exemption is, but that the idea is that that everybody just sort of decides that CEQA doesn't apply, California Environmental Quality Act, and so we just sign a single piece of paper and call it a day. And that's not what happens with an infill project exemption, and it's certainly not what happened with this project. This project started out as a mitigated negative declaration. So that was a document that included a full range of technical reports that studied the project site and the surrounding area in detail, including a 200-foot buffer zone into the adjacent canyon. And it generated 900 pages of analysis, was circulated for public comment, and provided written responses to every single one of those comments, even though there was no legal requirement to do so. After the mitigated negative declaration, it became clear that all of the mitigation measures proposed were actually regulatory compliance measures that the city had to impose on the applicant and that the applicant had to comply with anyway, and staff determined, therefore, that this categorical exemption, based on those technical analyses, was the appropriate document. It was ultimately upheld by the Area Planning Commission. So after 3 years, and after a demonstrated track record of doing the right thing and consulting with the council office, my client was provided with only 3 hours' notice that none of that mattered and that we would have no opportunity to address any of the concerns or to provide any additional analysis to address any of the issues raised up until that point. Clearly, we're not saying that consultation with the council office means that your project gets approved. Obviously, it cannot. But it should get more than 3 hours' notice for an applicant who has a demonstrated track record of doing the right thing and going the extra mile because he lives in the neighborhood and wants to do right by his community. The findings before you are really a pretext. They're not supported by the record. They're, in fact, refuted by the record. And the Housing Accountability Act actually requires that a preponderance of the evidence support the reasons for rejecting a project, particularly when they relate to any claim of a public safety impact, which must be significant, unavoidable, quantifiable, and objective. And the state legislature has said that those instances will be rare. That doesn't occur here. Even the effects claimed, most of them, concern effects of the environment on the project and not the project on the environment. The city has not met its burden to reject this project. Thank you very much, and I'll cede the rest of my time to my client.
Council President, council members, thank you. My name is Cosimo Pizzulli. Councilman Bonin, thank you for listening to me. I haven't had the opportunity to meet with you. I've lived in the Palisades for 30 years. My wife has lived there 40 years. We lived on this property for 20 years. We raised our children there. We've been to local schools. We've communicated with a lot of our neighbors. I've been appointed by Cindy Mikowski to be part of as an architect and design these homes, be part of a land use committee as advisory. You've met with my neighbors. You haven't had an opportunity to meet with me and hear my side of it, but quite simply, the people that directly impacted by my home. This is my home. I live there. I lived there 20 years. I want to replace my home. That's all I'm asking. I want to replace my home. 6 of the neighbors across the street support my project. 3 of them are the appellants. 2 of them live there. The other one lives in Santa Barbara. Nobody else is directly impacted. They don't drive down the street. It's a dead-end street. They don't walk down the street. I'm also providing a public service. I'm widening the street a little. I'm adding a sidewalk, a curb, parkway, and I'm helping the fire department by putting in a hammerhead turnaround on my property for safety of the vehicles to come down the street, back in, and turn around. I think you could do the right thing today. I think you could change your opinion and realize I'm adding this benefit. I'm adding this benefit, and I think, Councilman Bonin, you could do the right thing today and reverse your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pizzulli, I apologize. And now if we have the appellant, right? Neil Brower? I'm sorry, the applicant. That was you. Are the appellants not here? All right, the appellant is not here. Mr. Bonin?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, this item was continued from Wednesday when I believe the appellants were here on that date. Thank you, colleagues, for considering this matter, I want to correct a couple statements. One, this is not a denial of a project. This is a denial of a categorical exemption. It's a granting of an appeal asking for additional environmental review. This is not saying no to the project. This is saying we need to do additional environmental review on this project. This is a unique area. Las Pulgas Canyon is in Pacific Palisades, in an environmentally sensitive area, one that is often subject to slides and to sort of particular geological issues, but also is a very particularly sensitive natural resource and wildlife area. In fact, so much so that a site suitability study was funded through the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy grant, and it made three main findings regarding the significance of this canyon. It said that it has significant or singular scientific, environmental, and cultural importance as natural open space. It said there's unique value in considering the canyon as a valuable addition to the Santa Monica Mountains public lands and state beach properties, and as a link between the coast and the mountain trails. And that the quality of the Las Pulgas Canyon as wilderness in the city makes it special and should be preserved. In looking into this, my staff and folks involved with Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy and Save Las Pulgas Canyon looked into the type of categorical exemption that was being sought. And it's a Class 32 categorical exemption, and the proposed project does not qualify for that type of categorical exemption because substantial evidence supports a determination that the project is not consistent with all of the general plan policies. It doesn't qualify for the Class 32 categorical exemption because the project site has value as a habitat for endangered, rare, and threatened species and causes a reduction in or an interference with natural habitat. And because there is a reasonable possibility that the proposed project will have a significant impact and effect on the environment due to the unusual circumstances of the area. So what we are asking for is just simply more environmental analysis. There may be additional information, there may be additional analysis from the applicant, and that is exactly the type of information that the planning department needs to have in their initial study determining whether or not they should go forward with a full EIR. So this issue was before Planning and Land Use Committee a week or two ago, and they determined that they would support the community in the appeal and ask for the additional environmental analysis, at which point we will be more than happy to consider the project on its merits. So I ask that we support the appeal and the Plum Committee recommendation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonin. Just to clarify, so you're asking for an aye vote?
Yes.
Thank you. And yet no other members on the queue, so we're going to open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Madam Clerk, we'll now go into special item number 1. And we're going to have the city attorney speak on this.
What's that?
Yes, I will make the findings for the special one. Since the posting of the agenda, the mayor declared a local agency due to the introduction of the novel coronavirus in the U.S. and L.A. County. And there's an immediate need to act since the resolution must be approved by council with 7 days, and the last date for that approval is March 11th. And council is scheduled to be on recess on March 10th and March 11th. So 2 votes are required, 1 on the findings and 1 on the motion.
So, it's great. So let's open for the first vote, open the... Oh, are there speakers? Hold on. All right, so we're going to open the roll on the findings for the first vote. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That matter is now before you.
Great, so now we'll take public comment. And we have 2 people who signed up, Arnold Sachs and Eric Previn. Come on up. Yes, so this is people who signed up for the item, and then we'll take public comment right afterwards. So we have you on as well. So, Arnold, you got a minute?
Yes, thank you. This is a special that's up here because it didn't really say when the city attorney explained you're taking the days off that you need a vote on this. So this is, the CEQA. So, I heard an interesting thing.
No, this is not CEQA. This is item number 1, COVID-19. Special one. Special one. This is special one.
But it's not posted up here to read it. It's not there. Now, they're just
Mr.
putting
Sachs, you signed up for the item. You know what we're talking about. It is not
It's on the, Mr.
So it's
Sachs.
off the board now.
It's on the board.
It's supposed to be up here for people to look at, is it not? No?
No. Mr. Sachs, you signed up for the item.
I did sign up for it. I did. But every item that you usually hear is posted up here for people to look at. It's very simple.
Mr. Sachs, the item has
Yes,
been
ma'am.
posted
Yes,
on the
thank you,
board.
Thank you, Ms. City Attorney. But there is no way to look at it and speak at the same time. I really appreciate this. This is, so you're taking 2 days off. Take 2 days off.
Thank you,
round
Mr.
trip
Sachs.
to hell.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. If we have Mr. Eric Previn, give you a minute.
Thank you. And it raises questions as to why this has to be stuck on the bulletin board when nobody's around, and there can't be any public awareness of this. We did have a huge day Wednesday in which we rolled out numerous states of emergency here in City of LA, County of LA, the governor. So I would just ask if the body really believes that it's important to get ready for some additional funding, which is what these states of emergency declarations are really all about, while Mr. Krikorian is telling people not to let their hair catch on fire, and all the lobbyists are trying to get the LA Marathon rolling with a weird 1,600 people from China, South Korea, Iran being told, oh, you can come next year. I mean, I just think that we have a lack of consistency, and what it really speaks to is in this body, not special number 1, which everybody argues if you don't know about it before posting of agenda, you can do it, but you do it all the time where you do add substitute and amendment motions to this body. I've put 4 claims in the last 10 days because you're in violation. And Councilmember Ryu and Nuri Martinez and whoever else
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Previn. Thank you, Mr. Previn. Your time is up. Thank you, Mr. Previn. Mr. Previn, please sit down. You've been warned before. You're disrupting. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a vote on the resolution. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
11 ayes. That passes. Then we're going to move to item number 19. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, after a lot of work by the Ad Hoc Jobs Committee and many of the members around this horseshoe, today we'll be approving the policy and funding to initiate the JEDI Zone programs for economic development purposes throughout the city in the designated zones. We've been working on this for a long time. This program will provide businesses in the selected zones with a range of different economic incentives, such as small business loans, permit fee reductions, help with navigating the city's permitting process, and funding for facade improvements, among other things, in economically underserved areas. This has been something that we've needed for a long time, since we no longer have the tools available to us from redevelopment, very often in neighborhoods that are in most need of economic revitalization. The city and the council members for that area are left without the tools really to prime the pump. And the initiation of the JEDI Zone program will give us some of the tools that we need to be able to do that. So very pleased that this has finally gotten here, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. There's no other speakers on the queue, and thank you for all your hard work on this, especially with the cool name of JEDI. We're going to open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And the JEDI program passes. So, Madam Clerk, there's been a request for items 1 and 20 to go urgent forthwith. So we're going to take a vote on that. If we could open the roll. Hold up. 1 in 20. So open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And that passes. So now we're at general public comment. For everyone who signed up for general public comment, I'm going to be reading your names. Marco Juarez, Renee Mamoun, and Samantha Noor. If your name was called, come on up. You get a minute. State your name first.
Good morning. My name is Marco Juarez, and since I've been requesting a lot of help from you guys and nobody's doing nothing to help low-income families, disabled Hispanic tenants, I decided to join Los Angeles Tenants Union, North Hollywood, and Canoga Park to request their help to end all city inspectors and investigators' corruption. Shame on Joseph Plasencia teaching how to do discrimination by white supremacist company, the Source Management Company located in North Hollywood. And all the paperwork, Leticia Basis requested, and she already have all the papers, and I already give you copies on everything. But she don't want to do nothing in the case number BA 250471, and they refuses to help to enforce all the reduction of services and all legal increases of rent, and especially they've been charging me more than $21 a skip a month, not a year, a month. And Chairman Marilena Diaz, she was one of the first investigators. Now she's a supervisor, now as the manager, and she don't do nothing. She don't even know basic math. Send her back to elementary school. Thank you.
Thank you. Rina Mamoun and Samantha Noor. If you guys could line up. State your name.
Hi, council members. My name is Rina Mamoun, and I'm a student and a member of LA Families Fighting Flavored Tobacco. I am here today to urge you and your colleagues to support the introduction and passage of a comprehensive ordinance that ends the sale of flavored tobacco, including menthol tobacco products and hookah. Menthol is the tobacco industry's #1 flavor. Menthol products have been tactically marketed in specific communities, in particular the African American community. The intense targeting of menthols to a community works to create nicotine addiction and increase sales of cigarettes. Now the tobacco industry is pushing young people who begin smoking to smoke menthols. Please do not support the tobacco industry and its #1 tactic of using menthol-flavored tobacco to addict new users. Stand with health professionals and advocates to protect vulnerable communities from big tobacco. End the sale of menthol tobacco products. Thank you.
Thank you. And your name was?
Rina Mamoun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I get Leonard Lum, Stephanie Hernandez, and Shannon Kozlovich? And the people who I call, if you could stand up and stand in line, please. Go ahead. State your name, please.
Leonard Liam, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm a formerly homeless veteran who's enrolled in the City College paralegal program, and I'm here on a civic engagement exercise. I noticed that items concerning the discussion of quote-unquote social justice and quote-unquote climate change were recently postponed, and I'm looking forward to seeing them rescheduled. Especially anything regarding social justice, the Council is willing to address, to include homelessness as an issue of social justice, and the city's support for their nutrition, their housing, and for legal aid offices serving the homeless. I would also like to object to the amount of time devoted to celebrations.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Next speaker. You can state your name.
Distinguished council members, I am Dr. Kozlovich, Program Manager for Equality California. Research has concluded that menthol flavor regulations increase quit rates among menthol smokers. In Los Angeles, that would translate to quit rates in communities with the highest related tobacco health disparities, our Black, Latinx, and LGBTQ+ communities. Tobacco is bad for you. Flavored tobacco is even worse. Menthol products are an entry to lifelong nicotine addiction, and continued use of menthol products makes it harder to quit. Researchers have uncovered how menthol keeps nicotine in the body longer, and my own research uncovered how menthol may also keep the most potent tobacco cancer-causing compound in the body longer. This reaction is similar to a traffic bottleneck, where menthol and cancer-causing compounds leave the body through the same pathway, causing everything to back up and stay in the body longer. The longer cancer-causing compounds are in the body, the more chances they have to do the damage that leads to cancer. These studies will be provided to all of your
Thank you,
offices
Doctor.
later.
Thank you. Please state your name.
Stephanie Hernandez. Good morning. My name is Stephanie Hernandez, organizer with LA Families Fighting Flavored Tobacco. Since last year, our coalition of partners made up of health advocates and concerned community residents have been hoping to work with you for an ordinance to end the sale of flavored tobacco with no exceptions in the city of Los Angeles. In the past 3 weeks, people have volunteered their time to be here. Unlike people you saw with menthol shirts on Wednesday being paid, we are not. Pushing back public comment is suppressing the voices of the community who can't afford to be here for an extended amount of time. Also, I do want to thank the council members for taking our support letters. Nicotine addiction is a dangerous health risk. We hope you act now to save lives. End the sale of flavored tobacco, including menthol, hookah, and adult-only tobacco shops. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. If I could get Ms. Gorst, Corey, and Asada. So Ms. Gorch, Corey, and Asata Umoja. So last call for Ms. Gorch, Corey, and Asata Umoja. Please state your name.
Asata Umoja. Okay, I'm here because I just want to just remind this council that a part of what's supposed to be happening here is that the will of the people is supreme, and that it's supposed to be for the greatest good. I'd love to be here to celebrate like everybody else, but unfortunately I'm not. I've been a resident of the Hyde Park, Park Mesa Heights community for over 30 years, and the community has been constantly excluded from the planning process. One of the concerns I'm deeply concerned about is the level of development that is occurring that is not benefiting the community. And so we have a project which you've been coming here talking about consistently called Destination Crenshaw, which is being yelled as a community-inspired project, which it is not. And it cannot be until the residents and the stakeholders of that community are involved in the planning process and how the land is used in that community. And they're talking about how they're a cultural center, which they're not, because they're trying to eliminate the Afiba Center, which is...
Thank you. If I could have the next, I'm sorry, I have to afford everybody the same time. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Sergeants, I'm so sorry. Ma'am, I have to give everybody equal time. I apologize. If I could have Jabari, Shante, and Joseph. Jabari, Shante Powers, and Joseph L.
Greetings, Council. Thank you for once again allowing me to come and speak before you. My name is Jabari Jamani. I'm a firefighter with the City of Los Angeles and as well the director of the Afiba Center in South LA. We've operated that center proudly for over 20 years, where we've produced cultural and educational programming for the community, and we feel we have benefited it. We are clearly under attack right now by a person who should be representing us, Councilman Marquise Harris Dawson. He has chosen to serve us with an eviction notice and then move from that and just say he wants me removed as the director of the association. I look forward to bringing some sanity to all of this nonsense and calling him and his staff to the table where we can reach an agreement, which will keep this from getting bigger than it needs to. It's already moved to a recall for Marquise Harris Dawson. Let's bring some sanity to this and bring this community into wholeness so we can all work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Shante Powers. I'm here
Can
today.
I put the microphone down a little bit? Let's restart our time.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm here today to ask that you exempt hookah from the flavored tobacco ban. Again, my name is Shantae, and my job is to work with hookah businesses in LA City. Needless to say that if a flavor ban is passed that includes hookah, I would actually lose my job. My coworkers and I, as well as the businesses that I work with on a daily basis, are very concerned that hookah is being unfairly included in the flavor ban discussion. Our youth should definitely not be using any tobacco products, and I understand the impact that the vaping epidemic has had, but you as council are smart enough to be able to solve that problem without sacrificing an important aspect of a lot of people's lives without good reason. I respectfully request that hookah be excluded from the flavor ban. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead. And please state your name.
Rhonda Kennedy.
Wait, hold on. I don't think I called your name.
You didn't, but you called 3 other people who signed in after me, so I don't know how.
Hold on. What's your name?
Rhonda Kennedy.
You know, you didn't sign up. Can you? And I have. Let me call in order. If you want to go back and sign up again, because it's not.
I did sign up. I have 3 witnesses that saw me sign up and submit my comment.
So your name is not showing up, but I have to call the speakers, but I'll give you a minute, but you have to go back and sign up. I could have someone assist you on how to sign up, but I'll give you the minute to speak now, but after you speak, I still need you to sign up for the record. And if you could state your name.
For the record, my name is Rhonda Kennedy. I'm the Republican congressional nominee for Ventura County. I was contacted by one of your community members here, the AFIBA Community Project, because they're being targeted by one of your council members who, in my legal opinion as an attorney, started an illegal unlawful detainer against them. I understand that now that organization and members of the community have started the recall process for Councilman Harris. And I just want to say that they have my full support, and I'm going to ensure that every single Republican, the 50,000 Republicans that voted in the primary election for the 2 congressional districts, signed the petition for recall. And I guarantee you that those names will not be disqualified, because I'm already in contact with the Election Integrity Project, who will be watching this recall process. So with that, I support the FIBA project, and I urge the council members to do the same. Thank you.
Ms. Kennedy, sergeants, can you show her how to sign up? Because I want to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So someone will show you how to sign up. Sergeant will. Joseph L. Last call for Joseph L. Errol Weber and Antonio Diaz. Come to the mic. In any order? Yeah, sure.
Okay.
State your name.
Okay. Good morning, City Council. My name is Errol Weber, candidate for Congress in California's 37th Congressional District, which overlaps the Crenshaw neighborhood and City Council District 8. After 80 years of the Crenshaw community suffering the effects of redlining, local economic disinterest, and the expatriation of the community's wealth, with the black dollar only lasting 6 hours in the community, it's a slap to the face when Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson retaliates against the very community members actually making a positive impact in the Crenshaw community through the AFIBA Center, which was given an eviction notice. We need to place our emphasis on empowering our community members to become stakeholders in our community instead of courting and importing outside investors. I'm in support of Jabari Jamani of the AFIBA Center and the community's effort to recall Marquise Harris Dawson. It is important that our City Council members prioritize creating opportunity to keep the black dollar circulating in our historically disadvantaged neighborhoods. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker. If I could have quiet in the audience, please. Quiet in the audience. Please state your name.
Mi nombre es Antonio Díaz, dirijo un programa.
My name is Antonio Diaz.
Mi nombre es Antonio Díaz, dirijo un programa de fútbol.
My name is Antonio Diaz, and I direct a football program.
El día que estoy acá es para reportar el lavado de dinero por parte del Departamento de Parques y
The
Recreación.
day that I am here is to report the money laundering from the Department of Parks and Recreation.
La forma en que se lava dinero es que nosotros hacemos pagos a la ciudad para el uso de facilidades de los campos.
The way that the money is being laundered is that we pay money for the use of the soccer fields.
Nos hemos reunido con el Departamento de Parques y Recreación y nos
We have gathered with the
de 4 a
Department of
5
Recreation, and they represent 4 to 5 people
que supuestamente se le está pagando.
that supposedly is being paid.
Estos fondos son extraídos por personal del parque de recreación haciéndole
these
pago a
these
estas
funds are
personas, a 5 personas que se les paga
these funds are being extracted from people that they're getting paid
por supuestas horas de trabajo.
for supposedly hours that they work.
Ok. En las horas de trabajo no existe absolutamente nadie trabajando, más sin embargo,
There's
mi
nobody
organización
working
debe
at the
de
working
cubrir
hours,
miles de dólares por este servicio.
and they have to cover thousands of dollars for this service.
Ok. Ya se ha hablado con el Departamento de Parque y Recreación, llevamos 4 años,
We've
llevando
been-
una cantidad aproximada de $250,000, que son
We've been talking with the
120,
Department of Recreation of about
$130,000 pagados a este personal.
$250,000 that we have paid to these people.
En este momento nosotros no tenemos más fondos
At
para
this time, we don't
continuar
have more funds to
brindando este
continue
servicio a la
offering this
comunidad.
service to the community.
Parques y Recreación
Park and
exige que se
Recreation
siga
demands
pagando
that we
este
continue
personal que
paying
no
these
existe.
people that do not exist.
Mi nombre es Antonio Díaz.
My
y les
name is Antonio
agradecería
Arias,
que
and
por
I will
favor
thank you that
me
please
colaboren con
to cooperate
con este problema.
with this problem.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yvonne Michelle Autry, Chris Abercrombie, and Felicia Ammons.
Yes, again, this is still a democracy. The public constituency, we need to have more time than 1 minute. You're taking our time so that you are not liable, and so our comments are not on the record. Regarding the Afiba Center, I have been enjoying that for about 20 years. And I'd like to remind the City Council of the history of using black people to take away our resources in our buildings. Jan Perry was used by the system to take the firehouse on 5th Street and Wall. Mr. Marquise Dawson is being used to take away the Afiba Center so African Americans cannot claim that it is racially motivated, but it is. And this fire station has never been redeveloped. It was taken under the auspices of being redeveloped into a restaurant like the fire station on Figueroa and 7th, and we were lied to. That being said, I also object to the sanctuary state. Black Cubans are disproportionately living on the street at 5th and San Pedro. No sanctuary state. No sanctuary
you.
state. Give priority to African
Thank you, Ms.
Americans.
Autry. Thank you, Ms. Autry. Could I get the next speaker, please? Next speaker. Please state your name.
Good morning, Council. My name is Felicia Ammons, Minister Ammons from Monrovia, Liberia, West Africa. I'm in a collaboration with the Black Business. And what we are asking you guys to please support the Black business and empowerment workshop for all walks of life, peer support groups. We are having talent competition, computer literacy, homeless education, civil law, to know your rights. And also that will be Friday and Saturday, March 13 and March 14. Please come out and support us. We need your help. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you.
Thank
Have
you.
a blessed day.
Please state your name.
My name is Chris Abercrombie. I work for the Foundation of the Kingdom Warriors. I'm a youth mentor, and I would like to pass out these flyers that we're having an event on Western Recovery, March the 13th and March the 14th. Pretty much talent competition, computer literacy, homeless education, civil laws, known for your rights. We pretty much wanted to help the world out, and we pretty much would like if you can just look over it, and then you say you want to help the community, make a difference. Don't just take these flyers, look over them and make a change. Work in the Black community, help out this community, and not only help out, show the world that you want to make a difference instead of not listening sometimes. But at the end of the day, I'm here, so I am going to make a change, and I would like to pass out these flyers if I'm able to.
Thank you. Dr. Mello Desire and Arnold Sachs.
Hi. So that was one of our youth mentors was inviting you to a mental health recovery conference in Culver City. My main concern is $30 million being returned back to the federal government for housing. Richard Llewellyn told me at the last Housing Measure H meeting at City Hall East that we are not going to get a dime of that money to help housing the homeless. I'm very disgusted by us writing grants, the Kingdom Warriors Foundation, trying to submit paperwork, having Tyler Kirkpatrick give a false presentation on Skid Row numbers when we, for 6 years, have been submitting the paperwork. So we would like for LA City Council to look over LASA's contract that we have submitted, the discrimination that we have faced through Hardy Marston, who is now the interim director. We are not here to paint a bad picture or even go against our government. We want to have collaboration, and we would like support for the Kingdom Warriors Foundation, who's actually doing homeless engagement with no funding. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker, Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. So, a couple of meetings. According to Metro, the Metro generation is 10 years. CEQA, so if you have people living in a development or housing for 30 years, according to Metro, that would be 3 generations, because I asked that question at a Metro Next Gen study. By the way, I'll be walking on Sunday, the last mile for the marathon for Dee Dee Hirsch, suicide prevention, in honoring a county angel who lost her son to suicide. Gilbert Lindsay was the first black elected to the LA City Council in 1967. What's changed since Gilbert Lindsay represented that area? I don't know. Will there be a Nazi flag coming to the council chambers in the near future? Maybe you could prepare for June 14th. And Malcolm X meets Barack Obama. There's a TV.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. That satisfies general public comment. Madam Clerk, what do you have next?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
Members, any announcements? Looking to my right, any announcements? Looking to my left, seeing no announcements. I do have announcements. I do want to thank all the members for attending the SCAG meeting yesterday. With all of your support, we have overwhelming success for the county and our region. Thank you for that. Now, if everyone could rise for adjourning motions. Everyone in the audience, rise for adjourning motions. Yeah. Looking to my right. Councilman Krikorian side. Looking to my left, any adjourning motions? Councilman Corrett's side. Seeing none, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, members.